Okay, Tailwind CSS 4 beta 1 right from the blog. Nice artwork here. Let's go ahead and go to this bad boy. I think this is where we're going to be spending our time.
While you're doing this, I'm going to check out the YouTube thing, see if that's actually working.
Okay, cool. All right, Tailwind CSS 4 beta. So we thought it'd be fun to just try to create a new project. So I'm going to go to my Scratch, and
if it's streaming on YouTube, it's on like the wrong YouTube account.
That's okay. I'm going to try to make a new V project, which I do about once a year. So this will be fun.
Oh yeah, it is. I'm literally streaming on like my old weightlifting YouTube channel. What a fucking disaster. All right. Well, what can you do? I don't even know if I can turn that stream off from YouTube. Whatever. Who cares?
This is for the Twitter crowd.
Yeah, so it's going to be just for Twitter, just for X, you know.
Just for X, the X platform.
The X-Men, you know. I don't know.
Okay. Well, we got something going here.
Okay, so what did you install here? Okay,
this
nothing
is a
yet.
Brand
we just
new
got
V app
with React and everything.
Got React, got TypeScript.
Okay, radical.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it looks like it doesn't have Tailwind installed.
No, it doesn't. So let's get it installed.
Let's do that.
I think I'm a little overexposed here.
That is an interesting default background choice, but I'm here for it. Class name, text, 5XL, no Tailwind.
Where is the text? I didn't even see it.
Right in the middle. It's so small.
Oh, geez. All right, cool.
Can you see now?
I can. Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
Okay. So following the instructions here, got to throw in Tailwind and the new Vite plugin.
All right. Let's go ahead and do that.
And then hopefully there's already a Vite config. Yeah. So you can slam that guy in there and just make sure you import it, obviously.
Autocomplete.
There you go.
Without a hitch. Looking good.
And then you just got to import Tailwind CSS in your CSS file. Yeah, so I would just delete everything that's there.
Yeah, that's usually what I do.
Someone's saying your mic's a little quiet.
Okay. Check. There we
go.
Check. I'll turn the gain up a little bit.
Yeah, that's louder.
Okay, good.
Using your lazy posture. Just
I know.
Not your broadcasting posture.
Exactly. I'm in my chair, not in my saddle stool, my saddle chair, which is great. All right, look at this.
Okay. So
Background
first of all, like how much easier was that than like what you normally have to do?
I actually just realized how easy it was. I was kind of like half paying attention and just following it. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So wait, there's no Tailwind config.
No.
Oh wow.
And yeah. No Tailwind config. No specifying all the stupid directories where your React components live.
And it's still doing it lazy. It's still like doing it. Wow.
You just try like an arbitrary value. Do like text like 67.2 pixels, you know?
Look at that.
Boom. Yeah. So there you go.
That's
so the way it works with the Vite plugin is it's using the module graph to intercept every component that's being rendered and scanning them on demand. But it also works with the PostCSS plugin with Next and stuff. We just kind of do all the content detection automatically instead. And all that stuff's in Rust. That's like the main part of Tailwind that's in Rust now because that is a lot faster.
Wait, this is so cool. I'm doing this right here. And again, I don't really use Vite that much, but this is an HTML file. It's not even a React file. And So I don't know what class attribute is. I haven't written this in like 10 years, but it's working. And I'm guessing, like you're saying, it's just picking it up. So my CSS, my generated CSS is still going to be like minimal, and it's going to have the reset, but then it's only going to have my classes that I used, which is pretty awesome.
Actually, if you just saw what was there, this is kind of relevant because this is something me and you have had a bunch of conversations about in the past. Scroll down in DevTools to the bottom there. Pick like a real element, so like the styles thing populates, and then scroll down, and you'll see now. Keep going, keep going to get to like the root stuff. So here's all your a little bit up, all your colors and your fonts and your all the stuff that you used to have to use like resolve config and all that crappy JavaScript APIs for. So now if you're like trying to animate stuff with frame or motion or something between two Tailwind values, it's all just there as CSS.
That's amazing. Now. So let's say I wanted to something I usually do in Tailwind is choose a gray and remap gray to that.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
So there's no great API for this, to be honest. The way that I think we're going to just have people do this at the moment is to just override them one by one. I would like to kind of figure out how to crack it, but where can I send you to get the
would it be this stuff right here, CSS theme variables?
Go up one level to CSS first configuration. So that's kind of like it's very similar, but it's at theme instead of :root, and that's like where you can configure custom stuff,
custom brand. So like if I open up build UI and I get our build UI, like two of our default things here, then I could do like this, something like this. And now I can do text. Let's see, text 7XL, text brand. Look at that. Oh, let's see. Oh, I might have color brand.
What is that color?
It's like a purple.
Oh yeah, get rid of the quotes. It's CSS.
Oh, I don't write CSS. That's why I use Tailwind. Yeah. I don't know how it works. Oh, there it goes.
There you go. Yeah.
Cool. I actually like this a lot because then you can do all your calc stuff here. It's kind of the idea, right?
Yeah, it's just like one less weird layer of stuff. It's also kind of nicer if you want to do like custom fonts and stuff, because with Tailwind 3 you'd have to add all your like font face rules and stuff in your CSS file, and then you'd configure the actual font for your theme in the Tailwind config file. And we'd always get people asking us questions like, how do I configure custom fonts in my Tailwind config file? Because it just felt wrong to be doing half your stuff in a CSS file and half your stuff in the config file.
Right.
So now it just all happens in the CSS file. So if you want to add a custom font, then yeah, you just add the font face rule with the paths and whatever, all that crap that you have to set up with a custom font. Yeah. It's all right next to each other,
This is awesome, man. The IntelliSense looks to be working. Like I just did background brand and it has both of these here. Yeah. That's very cool. It even has the hex color right there when I control space it. That's awesome, man. Yep. Very cool.
Yeah, man. What other there's tons of stuff we can look at. And, yeah.
Something I saw, by the way, I do love how easy it is to set up. That's great. That's great. I mean, basically, I'm trying to just even remember what we just did. I basically installed Tailwind and Tailwind plugin for Vite, which is
they're both line 13 and 16 there. Yeah.
And then I went to vconfig and added it, and then imported it.
Import it as if like
you're using a JavaScript file,
as if it's a CSS file.
Right?
Like that's kind of what it's like. It's like pretend Tailwind is a CSS file that you're importing into your CSS, but actually it's fully like dynamically generated behind the scenes. So no like at Tailwind base, at Tailwind components, any of that stuff. The at theme thing is obviously like a custom thing that's not like normal CSS, but still very CSS-y, which I
I
think is
love
kind
it.
of cool.
One thing I noticed when you were sharing some of the work in progress on these docs was all the color stuff. I think that's pretty exciting. So I don't know if you want to give like a quick summary of what.
Yeah, so the main thing is like if you right click one of the middle-ish colors, like one of the really kind of bright, yeah, that would be probably a good one. Inspect that one in DevTools to pull up the OKLCH like value for it. So every color in Tailwind 4 is defined in OKLCH, which is like a wide gamut color space. So it can express colors that you can't express in RGB. And that's what that line is in the color picker there. Everything on the right-hand side there is not expressible in RGB.
Oh, wow.
So in V3, when we were using RGB, if you drag that dot like just over to the left until it's like on the other side of the line, that, and you try and drag it up to get like a lighter color, that's like as saturated as you can get with that
Really?
sort of tealish color in RGB.
Really?
And we were pushing a lot of those colors to the limit in V3 already,
So like this kind of thing.
So look at like 5. Yeah. Yeah. If you right click that one and inspect 400 there. Oh, yeah. You should, see if you can find the actual swatch there. Grab the cyan. Grab the cyan one because I think that's what you're looking at on the other side.
Okay.
So if you take a look at that, see how it's like almost all the way to the top? That's like the amount of saturation, right? So there's like no headroom left on the saturation. Whereas in OKLCH, we still had like quite a bit of headroom left, and it's quite a bit brighter too.
Yeah.
If you go to, I think it's like, go to oklch.com.
This is so cool. oklch.com.
And paste that color, refresh this page so that we get the updated color, and grab that color from the DevTools again, that 715, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, grab that guy and paste it in there. So you can see the left is the Tailwind color and the right is the RGB fallback.
It's the closest you can get if you don't have OKLCH.
Yeah. So all the colors in V4, we've kind of revisited them all and made sure that, was there any, just checked, is there any tweaks we want to make now that we have more available? Basically vividness is kind of what you get from the wider gamut colors.
Very cool. And why is this something
everything's
that
a little,
everything just looks a little bit better?
Yeah.
Why is this something that's coming
I don't know if it necessarily looks better.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, P3 colors have existed for a long time, right? Like, but the OKLCH and OKLab color spaces, they're like pretty new, but they definitely weren't something we could use in the Tailwind 3 days, because Tailwind 3 came out 3 years ago or something, right? But if you're on like a mobile phone or a modern laptop screen or anything, all of these displays are wide gamut now. And I think the trend has also just been towards these like brighter colors in design. Things like were a bit softer for a long time. You remember like the old Stripe design where all the headings were like really thin text and stuff like that? I feel like that era of design, things were a lot more pastel, But I think everyone is doing these super bright colors now. If you go to like the Vercel homepage, for example, this is one of the few sites I could find that was using, if you scroll down a bit to where they have like some of their, like some of these little like badges and stuff like that, they're using OKLCH for all this stuff too. And all the colors are just like, they just pop a little bit more than you can get them to when you're limited to like the RGB color space.
Very
so we didn't do anything like super dramatic. Most of this colors changes are pretty subtle. See if I can find like, I probably shouldn't give out this link, but I'm gonna give it to you anyways, and you can pull it up. Where can I send this to you? That's safe.
What about Riverside? Do they have a chat?
Do they not? I don't know if Riverside
chat. Yeah, they do.
Where is it at? Am I blind?
Chat live stream.
Okay.
Cool.
Chat. Oh, how do I just send you a chat though?
Studio chat, Adam.
Oh, there we go. I have to like click another thing. If you go to this guy, did that link come through?
There we go.
This is a tool that we built. I'm just live streaming to 2,000 people right now. This is a tool that we built to design the color palette for v4.
Wow.
So every time you click one of these colors, you can see underneath it is the v3 version and above it is the v4 version. So that gives you like a really obvious comparison between each one. So see, like right on the left there we have.
I see.
So every time you click it, it expands it to another row, and you can sort of see.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you go, keep that orange one selected, and then zoom out, and go up to the top where there's that Show Original Colors toggle.
Damn, dude, these look awesome. Okay.
So that kind of shows you the whole UI toggling between the V3 one and the V4 one.
Oh, yeah.
So this tool is pretty rough around the edges. I don't think it's like in a state that we could like make it something for other people to use, but it was good enough for us to just hack on stuff. And if you go to
around the edges. Yeah, it feels rough.
I mean, cool. It's pretty cool. If you go to the top right too, there's like a drop down where you can pick between different examples.
It's
so if you go to like
of rough around the edges.
Yeah, go to like click it again and go to like dashboard or feed. Like they're all just different UIs that we built to try and test these things out. So you can just again see kind of the difference between the color palettes. And if you up at the top where there's like gray tone, you can switch between like the gray color palettes, so you can see like how do these look with whatever. And then on the right is like the actual color pickers that we use to pick like the OKLCH colors.
I see. Wow, man, this is awesome. The original one, I definitely can tell a big difference. Huge difference. So is it browsers that support you said P3? It's a display technology. It's a display. It's display technology.
So all modern browsers support like the color syntax, like the OKLCH functions and stuff like that. But if you're on a monitor that can't support wide gamut colors, it will sort of do its best, and you'll get sort of an RGB version of it.
Right. That is dramatic. I love it.
Yeah.
It looks really good.
And there's the light mode too, I think, if you click that moon guy up there. So you can sort of see both kind of versions. So yeah, this was Dan's handiwork building out this tool and then going through and trying to fine tune all these colors. You can also see like over on the right in the graphs and stuff, that white line is again like the sRGB color space limit. So and the white circle is the current color. So you can see like when we've sort of pushed it above the limits of sRGB.
I see. These are the points in the scale where it made more sense to use new values that weren't accessible to RGB.
Yeah. Cool. Exactly.
Very cool. I see. Every time I click, it shows. Okay, cool.
It looks like this is only streaming in 720, which kind of sucks.
People probably can't tell, but maybe it will.
Next
maybe the
time we'll figure out I think I gotta pay to use a better Riverside plan, even though I already pay. So
it's really cool, man.
Cool,
really cool.
Tool. Yeah, so I don't know what else can we like look at that's kind of cool. So we got 3D transforms now. Like if you go look at that, so we didn't have APIs for this in the past, but now we do. So you can like rotate in all axes and translate in the Z dimension and stuff like that, and do like back-based visibility and perspective. I find the 3D CSS stuff to be so fucking hard to intuit and build stuff with. But we do have APIs for it now. I don't know what you're going to get by copying just that code sample, because we simplify the code samples from what's actually there, so you can actually
do transform 3D. I'm going to do rotate X. So this does
something should happen.
Exactly. Rotate X49. So whoa.
Yeah, I mean it looks dumb, but
and then And then if I want to transition, I'm going to do transition
Yeah, just
all.
transition. Yeah, it doesn't even have to be all.
And then I can do basically
You
this.
could also like rotate it on like the y-axis a little bit too, and now it'll
Nice. Wow.
And then on the parent, if you add like perspective normal or something, where the MT8 is, then it should look less like a skew and should.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Whoa. This is cool, man. I don't even know what's happening.
That's what I mean. Like I feel the same way, you know. It's a lot of trial and error, I think.
I mean, I think it looks cool. Wait, let me get rid of the hovers. Let's try to do like, what's it called? Isomorphic?
Yeah. I mean, if you get rid of perspective, that'll make it like truly isomorphic. Because with isomorphic stuff, it's like there's no actual depth, you know? It's like, because usually you're just drawing it on like graph paper, right? So the squares like aren't getting smaller. It's just, yeah.
How fun. And then, hover. How fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you can do like duration, just real dramatic, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So I have a question. It's getting lighter because I have the hover class on it. I was like, it actually kind of just faked it into like looking like there's a light shining on it.
Yeah. That's cool.
Which is kind of neat.
Just got lucky with that.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, so we got that in there now.
And then I can still like active, I don't know, translate Y or something.
Sure, I don't know.
Negative translate
you
Y.
have to give it a number of some kind. Yeah, sure.
Oh, there we go.
Sure.
Maybe X.
Pretty stupid, but
I love it.
It does
translate
do something.
Y 1.5. There we go. I just made it. I'm a 3D developer.
Yeah. You could make Toy Story now, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You can make those cool graphs that show the different layers of like the DOM. I love it.
Yeah.
I have a question. The button doesn't have the pointer on it. Is that that's new?
Oh yeah, that's a V4 change too. Decided to just kill that one. I don't know. I saw all the cool kids are getting rid of the Mickey Mouse cursor on the buttons these days.
Yep, I've noticed that as well. Lots of different UI libraries.
Stay ahead of the curve, you know. Easy thing to bring back if you want it, you know. So because that's the browser default already. Like, we all just kind of got used to it because it was a common thing to change. But yeah, by default, you don't get a hand cursor on buttons in the browser or anywhere in the operating system either. So
I like to do this on my buttons: active cursor, dragging. Grabbing like this, something like that, just to let people know something's happening.
Just a little
squeeze. A little bit of flair. Yeah, a little. It really works nice with the 3D.
It pulls it out of the screen.
Tell me about this linear gradient stuff. I saw some pretty cool, like this I was interested in.
Yeah. So there's a few different improvements we made to the gradients. So the first one was that top one that you scrolled past. It's a pretty small one, but basically you used to be able to just do gradients like to the right, to the top, to the bottom, to the left. Now we've added support for just typing in any angle that you want.
Nice.
So that's a small one, but it's nice, you know, because if you wanted to do that in the past, you would have had to basically stop using the composable API. You'd have to do like BG dashed and a big arbitrary value that had your angle and all the colors in like the big arbitrary value. Yeah, so now you can keep it split up and keep it more readable, which is cool.
That's very cool. Let me try that out, actually. There's a baby coming?
Yeah. She's been captured.
Let's try this.
Yeah, give it a shot.
Beautiful.
Whoa. Is that repeating?
I think I need heightful.
I do.
And then like min heightful.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, or you could do H, like HDVH on body would also.
Yeah, I still don't trust those. I know I'm an oldie, but I do need to start using those.
But yeah, you can like play with that angle. You could do like a hover. I wonder if the angles are animatable in V4. Try
Let's
doing
try
like a
it.
hover, BG linear, like change it to something else. If they're not, I think we could probably make it work that way. They're not, eh? That's too bad. You can
Unless I need all.
now it's probably because the angle isn't defined as like a CSS property, but I think we could probably make that work actually. That'd be pretty cool. You can animate gradient colors now. I don't know if that's something you ever tried to do in Tailwind before, where on hover the gradient color changes. So
Yes. Let's go back
so on
to.
yeah,
Let's
just go back
get
to like the
my button
basic
back.
one. Sure.
And
Yeah.
let's get this, and let's do
Let's
a
get rid of all
button,
this. Yeah.
and let's do a border. Border
I wonder
2.
why that button is
Text white.
yeah. Cool.
Border 2.
Sure.
So now I want the border to be. Should we do this?
There's no border
Oh,
gradients.
that's right. There's no border. So let's do something
I would
like.
let's just do like a gradient background on the button. Just like maybe make the border transparent or get rid of the border 0 maybe.
Okay, so background.
The border will be there by default in V4. That's one kind of change. So you're going to have to border 0 if you don't want there to be a border.
Makes sense.
And then text white or something. Yeah. So let's do like a gradient background. So let's do like.
Whoops. So many windows.
So let's do like BG gradient 2R, BG gradient 45 or something. Or sorry, BG linear 45. That's another change. Gradient still works, but because we added other gradients, we renamed just gradient to whatever. Yeah,
right.
That's ugly, but
that's super ugly.
Do like from like indigo 500 to cyan 400 or something. What's that look like? Okay. And then like on hover, change it to like so do like hover from like rose 600 to amber 400 or something. And hover to amber 400. Okay, so now in V3 you couldn't like transition between those. To do that, you'd have to add like an extra element and just transition the opacity. That's how you'd like fake animating gradients. But unless we broke it, you should be able to add transition and actually see like the gradient transition. Is it not fucking working?
Oh, something's working. Let's do like ease linear.
Yeah.
I think it's it snaps over.
It's kind of working. It snaps at some point. Okay, well,
let's try
have to play with it.
Indigo. Let's try this to be like 9 and then do it to 7. And then let's do 2 cyan from 6. So it should start off like darker.
I have to play with it.
I mean, that looks awesome.
Yeah. It works better than it did before. I'll play with that other example and see if there's a reason why it does what it does or if it's a browser quirk.
It felt like a browser thing almost because like how can you translate from cyan to rose or something? You know?
So here's another thing that you can do that you couldn't do before. So when you specify a gradient, right, it's going to take like the one color and the other color, and we've actually changed the interpolation mode now. So if you imagine like a color wheel where you've got two colors, the default way that gradients happen is it just kind of draws a straight line from one to the other, right?
Right.
So this color wheel isn't even totally a real color wheel.
Right.
Like usually it's like more gray and white in the middle, you know?
Right.
But you can also interpolate the color in a different color space, which is kind of like if the color went around the color wheel to get to the other color instead of through the middle. So that's what we're doing by default now. So if you just do like a gradient from two colors that are pretty distant on the color wheel, like say you went from like
green,
blue, go from green to red or something.
500.
So it should like, red 500, not red 5000. So see how it goes through orange?
Yeah.
It wouldn't have done that in V3 by default.
Yep.
So if you go to where it says BG linear 45 and you add a slash after the 45 and then type sRGB, that's going to be what it did in V3,
Oh my
where it kind of goes
goodness.
through gray. So
And you would
we're
have had
doing
to
in
do like via orange
via orange,
500
yeah, exactly, and you can still do
or
that. And now you get something like pretty similar to what you had before. But now, even still, get rid of the if you keep the via thing and then get rid of
orange.
the sRGB, it'll
Oh
still
yeah.
be a little nicer, I think.
Yep.
And you can also do this, like get rid of the via completely again, and then add a slash after the 45, and this time type the word longer.
Like that?
Yeah. So now it takes the longer
Oh.
path around the color wheel the other way.
Oh, interesting. You know, I was just learning about color wheels. And basically if you're going from green to red, you would be going from, you're saying green to red, the shortest path is this way, and now the longer path is this way.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Because there's two ways. That's why color is represented in a wheel, because there's always, it's kind of continuous. I was learning about that for something else. That's so cool, man.
Yeah, man.
I've had to do that via thing a bunch, and I don't like it because, I mean, it's a great API, but you have to guess a lot more. You have to know a good theory in order to actually get something that's good. So that's very, very cool.
What other cool stuff is there? I mean, the other gradient stuff is cool. So I just kind of explained to you that stuff right there, the gradient interpolation modifiers. So conic and radial gradients, these are new APIs. That's why we changed BG gradient to be BG linear, because now there's BG conic and BG radial as well. So you could probably just copy those examples. You might have to add a size to them.
This is wild.
Yeah. So you get like a little sphere, you know?
How is this even? It looks 3D.
I know, right? So all it is a radial gradient. So it's like a gradient that goes out in a circle, but it's positioned in like the corner of the element instead of the middle. So if you get rid of the at 2525, it'll just be centered. So just like BG radial, and that's the whole class.
I see.
So now it doesn't look 3D, right? But if you shift it up a little bit,
I see.
now
So
it kind of looks like a sphere.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it just reuses the same.
I see. And then, okay. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
It really looks like a 3D sphere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it looks
fun.
like the Death Star, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could probably get that little other circle in there with another conic gradient on it.
Yeah,
you know?
Right. Cool.
Yeah, so there's those two things.
Oh, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
Tell me about rings, inset shadows, outline. What's the deal here?
Okay, so in V3, we had like two classes for different types of shadows. There's shadow for doing like traditional sort of elevation box shadows. And then there was ring, which we originally added as sort of a hack for doing custom focus rings, because you've always had to implement those with box shadows traditionally in CSS.
That's what I remember.
And but we also had like a shadow inner class, and we also had like a ring inset modifier when you wanted to move the ring inside the element instead of outside. But you couldn't have an outer shadow and an inner shadow at the same time in V3. So we've added this new set of APIs for inset shadow and inset ring. So you can have a shadow and an inset shadow and a ring and an inset ring all at the same time. Because we found in our designs that we're actually not using ring for focus rings anymore.
Since outline in the browser.
Since outline started following border radius. Yeah, outline is a way better property to use, because it actually has an offset, so it can show the background behind the offset and stuff, which we couldn't do with the ring stuff. So instead, we use the ring stuff almost like more as a border-like tool. It's more like a stroke is what we use it for.
Right. Like Vercel does a cool thing with their blog where they have, well, they used to. They have images, and the images get like a white transparent border that
Like,
shows the picture underneath. We actually do this on
yeah,
like our
yeah, yeah,
podcast, and you always had to kind of fake it as well. You can
yeah,
see there's like a tiny white. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's what you
Yep.
guys use rings for?
For that one, if I didn't need a focus style, I would actually use an outline for that because it's even
Mm,
easier. Because with rings, usually they're rendered underneath the image if you try to inset them. So you end up having to create like a pseudo element and put it
right.
on the pseudo element. But with outline, it'll sit on top.
Right.
Um, but yeah, we're
Gotcha.
using them a lot in situations where we have, like, say we have a card and it's got a shadow and you want to have a subtle border around the card, but you want it to blend with the shadow. If you use a regular border, borders don't blend with the shadow behind it. But if you use a ring, it is just another box shadow. So it can stack on top of the other box shadow if it has a bit of opacity.
Is there
So if
any
you look at,
example in any
if
of
you
the
go to like
templates?
the catalyst stuff, I think tons of that. Yeah, just click UI kit and then go to live preview or whatever, and then go to light mode, and then zoom in on any of these cards. Honestly, so you can see there's that gray border around the
Yeah.
card, and see
Yep.
how at the bottom of the card it looks a little darker than it does at the top of the
Yes.
card.
Yep.
And that's because it's blending with a subtle box shadow.
Ah.
If we switched that to be a border, the border would be the same color all the way around, and optically it would actually look lighter at the bottom than it does at the top, because your eyes are expecting it to look darker because of the shadow and the fact that it's at the
Interesting.
bottom.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah, so we added those APIs. Those are making it a lot easier for us to do stuff like this, because actually in
There's the
Catalyst too,
shadow. I can see it. So this is the ring, and you can see that there's a little bit of shadow down here
yeah,
and not up here because it's a little Y offset shadow. And then this guy is coming from the ring, I'm guessing. And because you can actually see even clearer on the dot. It lets the dotted border, the grid line come through. And so that's kind of what you're saying, right? This is why you guys use rings, because you couldn't do this with a border.
And if you switch this exact same design to dark mode, actually, you can see why it's nice to have the inset rings too. Because in dark mode, that border is an inset ring instead of actually here it might be an outset ring, but usually we do these as inset because we want the ring to be on top of the card face in dark mode instead of, like, you want it to lighten the face of the card a little bit, because you imagine it's like a slightly curved surface, and the light is hitting it around the edges,
Right. It would cast a shadow on the inside of the.
Yep.
Instead of the object itself casting the shadow.
Yeah. If you go to like the buttons docs, dude, I would kill for Command K on this thing. It's easier to see if you look at some of the colored buttons, so it's probably best to go to the actual docs page. So look at like button and scroll way down to that like big, and just like zoom in until you see one where you can kind of clearly see the.
I can tell. This guy. So there, it's coming in from the bottom.
Yeah, these all have 4 shadows on them, I think, if I remember right. But yeah, we could talk about this forever, but I think we could get into other stuff. Basically, the cool thing is, you can stack 4 shadows now when you can only do 2 before.
Very, very cool. I've definitely run into that before, so that's awesome.
Yeah, and even like when we built the last template we released, we originally built it in v4. It's that radiant one. And then we had to kind of convert it to v3 before we released it. And there was a lot of places where we were using 4 layers of shadows that we had to convert to being like an extra wrapper element, for example, So that was sad when we had to do that. Yeah. I don't even remember where it is, but there's a bunch of places in here that benefited from that stuff. Yeah, so we can keep kind of going through some of the other cool stuff. I don't know if you've seen
color
this, like,
scheme.
Oh my God, this is a confusing thing. But
well, I remember seeing this from your video, and this is something I learned sometime in the last year, where I always add the meta tag for the scheme, because of every time I do a demo in dark mode, like you were saying, you want the scroll bars to show up. You realize there's a secret meta tag. It does all sorts of things, like changes the colors of like the default date picker in the browser, all sorts of things. So
Yeah.
if you're
Like
a dark
checkboxes,
only
radio
site,
buttons.
yes, checkboxes, yep. If you're a dark only site, you want to make sure you have that. So does this basically is this what that is?
So this is so you can set color scheme with a meta tag or with a CSS property. So there's
Okay, it's the
the
same
meta
thing.
tag can set it, and CSS property can set it. So this sets it in CSS instead of with the meta tag. Nice thing about that is then it's scoped to that part of the website. So you can have a dark part with dark scroll bars, a light part with light scroll bars, and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. And under the hood, if you're doing it with CSS like this, Lightning CSS, which is a tool that we use in Tailwind to do like the post processing and stuff, it actually does some clever stuff with color scheme where it generates some like little variables that it uses to polyfill support for the light dark function. Have you ever seen that in CSS? So there's this function called light-dark that lets you define like the light mode color and a dark mode color in one declaration.
I see.
So this basically lets you say, okay, in light mode, the color should be 333B3C. In dark mode, it should be EFEC. And then as long as you set color scheme light dark somewhere in your project, now when you switch between light mode and dark mode, that property will update. But that light dark thing is only supported in like pretty new versions of Chrome and like Safari 17.5, which came out like earlier this year. So in Lightning CSS, Devin came up with a clever way of using CSS variables to sort of polyfill that for basically any browser. The catch is it only works if you're defining color scheme using CSS. The polyfill won't work if you're using the meta tag, unfortunately.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. So in this example in the docs, you can see if you scroll inside those little cards, the first one is going to use that's got a dark scroll bar, and then the other one has like the light scroll bar.
That's awesome.
To match kind of the color scheme. And if you turn on like permanent scroll bars, which why would you ever do that if you're using a Mac? But if you do, then you'll see the right color.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah, pretty neat.
Anything else you want to hit?
I'm trying to think if there's any other
the starting one. This one was very cool.
Dude, this is a mind fuck of a CSS feature, by the way, but it is very cool.
How does this work?
So what it lets you do is effectively like transition things when the element first appears,
Mm-hmm.
So here we're saying the starting style for this element is opacity 0, and sort of and you would also add like opacity 100.
Right.
And now when the element enters the DOM for the first time, it's going to start at opacity 0 as soon as it enters.
That's crazy.
So now I can just do frame.
I can do delay, and then I can do duration. And now when I refresh, so this is normally the kind of thing you would use an animation for.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How is this? What is it doing?
Magic,
is it toggling a class or?
No, it's just built into the browser. Like nothing's toggling. It's just
That's
like
crazy.
It's tracking this internal state. So.
And now you can go to animations wherever this thing is. I'm guessing, and see it all. Where is this? Animations.
I don't even know where it shows up, honestly. It's still very new. I'm not sure what the browser support on it even is, but it's kind of nice because it's very much progressive enhancement. If the browser doesn't support it, then it just shows up right away. So,
I wonder if they would ever do exit animations. I guess that seems a lot more complicated.
I think you can do exit animations. Like you can't make it exit, obviously, but you can, if you make it exit with JavaScript, you can animate it out by using this new CSS property called transition behavior, and you set it to allow discrete. And then in your list of transition properties, you include like display. So something's going from display block to display none. The browser can actually transition a discrete property, because display obviously is very a Boolean thing. There's no values to interpolate between, right?
Like going
but
from
using
flex
this
start to flex end.
Yeah, but using display none, allowed discrete, some fucking way the browser can now do this. So you can hit like a checkbox that makes an element like disappear. Dude, we could try to build this if we wanted to with like a check with no JavaScript, using like a checkbox and has and stuff like that in CSS to make the element actually disappear. It'd be kind of fun, actually.
Let's do it.
Add a checkbox somewhere. Doesn't really matter where. Let's think about how to actually yeah, okay. So there we got a checkbox. Now add a group class to the parent div. Can you check that, by the way? Like,
yeah.
Is it working? Yeah. Okay.
Uncontrolled.
So throw group on that. And then next to the input, just throw like the thing that we want to animate in and out.
So just like size for BG green 500, something like that.
Yeah, maybe make it like size 12 or something bigger. Okay, so then on that element, add a class on the div, the size 12 div. So add group -has -checked colon.
Let's see if it just works. Yep. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So that's cool, right? First of all, Tailwind 3, you couldn't do that.
Yes.
In Tailwind 4, you can sort of like chain as many variants as you want, like that. In Tailwind 3, you would have had to use like an arbitrary variant to do that.
Group has checked, or exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So set it to block on group has checked, and then set it to hidden by default. So now the checkboxes should toggle like the visibility of it, right? So now we have a way to like do. So let's do like the entering animation now. So let's set starting style to 0, and then opacity 0, and then opacity 100 for, it should just be starting 0.
Right.
Opacity 0, and then opacity 100. See, does that do anything? I guess we gotta transition it probably.
Wow.
Yeah, give it like a longer duration so it's more obvious. Yeah. Okay, so now let's see if we can get like the exit animation working. So add transition dash, not to that one. Oh yeah, that's fine. Yep, transition dash, and then in the square brackets put opacity comma display. Yep, exactly, and then add transition discrete as another class, and see if that is enough. Okay, we got to figure out a way to set it to a.
It does hold it in the DOM until it is holding it back for the 1,000 milliseconds.
Okay, so let's try seeing if we can set the opacity to 0 when the group not has checked. Okay, so that's like another class that'll work until now, by the way. Group not has checked, opacity 0.
Oh, okay. You're going to have to explain this to me because this is bananas. Whoa.
Oh.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. This is wild. Let me see. I'm just going to get all this stuff. I want to get like this stuff up here. Okay. So, and then starting, let me just organize this.
I didn't know if this would work. So this is pretty fun.
I'm very confused. Okay. So we've got, it's hidden by default, and
it's opacity 100 by
opacity
default.
100.
That's kind of its resting state or whatever, right? Starting state is opacity 0. So when it's entering the DOM for the first time, it's going to render one frame at opacity 0 before it goes to its resting state. And that's what's going to make the transition happen. Right. Then the group has checked is basically saying, okay, so if the checkbox is checked, we want the element to be rendered. And we're saying if the group doesn't have if the checkbox is not checked, then it should be at opacity 0. So that was the secret sauce that makes it fade out now.
Right. These two things are just like, this right here is setting it from, it's 100%, and then it's going to be faded out. When it doesn't toggle, none of this depends on any of this. So if we just did that, that would take care of.
You have to add the group has checked block.
Right. So I want to do it like one at a time. So if I just did this, we get that. That's easy.
Yeah. So that's just the opacity.
That's just the opacity. Now you say, let's make it hidden and then do block, and
this is going to look basically the same as before, except now the element's actually not rendered and not taking up space, whereas before it was actually invisible, just invisible.
Right. Exactly. So now if we look right here, then yeah, exactly. This is going to be display. Display is none.
Yeah.
So now it's display. Now that you have it out, you can say transition discrete.
Yeah. So the transition discrete is the exit animation. That's key for that one. But the enter animation is possible without it.
Right.
For the enter animation, you only need to transition opacity.
Right.
But yeah.
So when you go from showing, so it's shown. As soon as I click, we're going to have not has checked. So opacity is going to go to 0. And
but because there's a transition,
this isn't matching,
it's going to take a second, right?
Yep. Because there's a transition, it's going to take a second. And because group doesn't have checked anymore, this is going to go away. So that this is going to win this class. Yeah. It's going to go to hidden. Because we have transition discrete, it's just saying, is it basically like it just holds back if there's any other?
It just waits.
It just waits. Basically,
okay. The display is going to be like set. It's going to be like set to block for like 99% of the duration, and then hidden for the last frame. You know what I mean?
So if we didn't fade the opacity, and we just did this,
you're just going to see
it still does. It still holds it. Yeah. Okay. This helps me understand. So this is let's get rid of the opacity. Let's make it hidden and block, and then just transition display. And now, if I were to get rid of discrete, we don't have it because it's saying, oh, this is special. We need to tell it any discrete property. That's crazy.
Yep.
This is right. Now, this is crazy. I'm so confused. Like, so can you do this with, like, if we had like is showing?
How would
Button,
so
toggle.
I think you'd need to conditionally add like the hidden. Well, you might even be able to remove it from the DOM.
How is that possible? That can't be true.
I don't think you could conditionally render the whole element. I think you could only conditionally set the display property.
Right, because it has to be in there. Okay, all right, it has to be in there. So in that case, what does this actually, if it has to be in the DOM, this doesn't really buy you a ton, because you could always basically, to do this, if the element has to be in the DOM, I could always just fade it out to 0. But there was no way to like flip it from display block to hidden at the end of that. So that's what
right.
It buys
you would need JavaScript to actually like change the display.
Let's add some content right here, so we can see it, because this is going to add it. That's going to do that.
Yeah, it's going to jump up.
Exactly. Without this, I could do hidden.
You could just do the opacity.
I could do opacity, and then group has checked is opacity 100. This is 0.
Or the other way around, probably.
No.
Now it's going to be invisible when you check it, I think.
No. Group has checked.
Oh yeah. No, you're right. Never mind.
So this is what you could do. this is what you could do before. But how do you change it to block? Because if you did something like, well, I want it to be, group doesn't have, not has checked, and make it like hidden. The problem here is now you lose it. So this is like the motivating example, right? I want to hide it. Yep. And then now what you do is you say transition discrete. Not just that, is it? Okay, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's all you need technically, because transition property is all by default in the browser. So you only really need to add it explicitly if you want to make sure that certain properties are not being transitioned.
This is crazy. This is basically like in frame of motion, the equivalent would be you can have like a, animate opacity 100, whatever, exit, and then you do this, and then you can do something like transition. And you can do like after, or you can even do it in here. Actually, you can do like transition end, and then like display hidden. You can do something like that. There's a bunch of ways you can do it, but I like this because it's local and it's very easy, so it's almost like a transition end. And transitions, by the way, are just so much fun to work with because animations are like global keyframes definitions. They don't, I always prefer using transitions when I can.
I hate CSS animations and CSS keyframes.
Yes. This is wild.
Yeah, man. Pretty cool, right?
Very cool. Very
cool. Once like anchor positioning and stuff is more sorry for the crying baby.
You're good.
But once like the anchor positioning APIs are available in all browsers and stuff, you'll be able to do like regular drop downs and stuff with transitions and get them rendering in the top layer without having to use portals and without having to, like there's all sorts of cool stuff that you're going to be able to sort of compose together with some of these different things that are being worked on to do like pretty useful stuff.
Right.
Yeah, man, it's pretty cool stuff.
Pretty cool.
For
so
sure.
How do I get the enter animation again? Oh, that's where that's the starting thing. Okay, cool. So this is a nice way to introduce transition discrete, because it is letting us exit animate, because it's allowing the display, which is a discrete property that doesn't have a range, to just hold on. Now, if we wanted to get the enter animations, that's where, let me go back to what I had. Yeah, that's where we do the starting. So starting.
Yeah, just no add sign necessary. Yep, starting, opacity 0.
How fun is this?
Yeah, and you could like translate it up, so we got to set it to opacity 100. Right. Set it to opacity 100 by default, and then do has not has checked opacity 0. These things are a little finicky and like this way.
Yeah,
I find.
Yep.
But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Cool. That's
pretty
really
wild that
cool.
This is like pure CSS. Like there's no JavaScript involved at all.
I have a question. Can you do height auto?
I have no idea. I swear I did see something the other day that you could animate height auto now.
I saw something too.
But I don't know if like you can do it as simply as this, or if you have to do some clever thing.
Right. I'll just do this. Should be fun.
Yeah. I don't know. What is this going to do?
Boo.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's not getting. Oh, I need starting.
Okay, so you got to do starting size 0.
12. Yeah. 0. Right.
0. Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is pretty crazy, dude. I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm going to be out of a
job
job
framer
soon.
motion is better. Let's be clear, because you want to preserve the border radius stuff and all that fancy stuff that Matt makes that thing do.
I mean, if this is how most accordions on the web work, I think it'd be a lot better than what we see.
Yeah, sure.
This is wild, dude. I have a question. So why do we need both This is the to, this is the from, the starting. Right. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
is
to
there
and
going to be an
from.
ending? Is there going to be an ending style?
My understanding is no, because I think they believe that it's achievable already. But yeah.
Pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. All right, what do you think? You want to wrap it up there? I love all these like composable. I love this because I do this stuff a lot with Radix. They use data attributes a ton, so I'm super excited for just being able to write that stuff more simply.
Yeah, man. There's like millions of other things, but like we've been going for an hour already, so we could probably wrap it. I think a cool thing to talk about some other time would be just like how all the CSS configuration stuff works, because we basically like didn't touch on any of it, which in some ways is kind of cool. Like we didn't even have to think about it. Compare, whereas in the past, the Tailwind config file was always something that was like you couldn't avoid touching it.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, like now you can even like install plugins from your CSS file. It's just like at plugin and you pass it.
This is great.
Yeah.
Oh, this is awesome.
And if you go to like the configuring dark mode section, I'm kind of happy with how that turned out. It's a little closer to the metal than it was in V3, where you just have like an option to choose between dark mode media or dark mode selector or whatever. Mm-hmm. Now it's just dark mode is the media query. And if you want it to be based on a selector, you just override the dark mode variant with whatever selector you want it to be,
I see.
So now if you're using like an existing other framework that uses like a data theme attribute, then you could just use that selector here. You can just control it and make it whatever you want.
Interesting.
When you override a variant in V4, it overrides it like in place. So it stays in the same place in the list of variants. So it doesn't change the sort order of your classes or anything like that, which is pretty cool. The not variant, that was something cool that we used that we didn't even talk about, but this didn't exist in V3. There was no way to do not stuff.
Yep, I saw this when you were sharing this on Twitter. This is a big one where you add like a hover style for a disabled button or an active button. You have like and then you just have to undo it. So this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, exactly. That invariant is kind of cool. This was suggested. This is like PR'd originally by a community member, but it's basically like group without the group, which is not. It's kind of dangerous, because you're not being as explicit about which element is has the condition applied to it. But for a lot of things, it's fine. Like only one element on the screen can ever be focused. So if you just want to change this. Yeah. Focus. So this is basically saying, does anything above me match this variant? So now if
interesting. So if you were to do so
if you had a button,
normally I would do
inside the button.
Right. Normally, let's think about this. Something like the radio group from headless, things like that, or even you just have like a form or in a field set, and you want to say there's like a div with like a border, and then you have like a label, something, and you have an input like this. This is gorgeous. Let's get this like 20. Something like this. This thing is going to have padding 8, and this will be flex, something like this. Something like that.
Sure, yeah.
And then you've got, 2. So now you have one field set maybe, and then you have like another one, and then you want to say, so right here, I could say, well, let's just do it like this. Actually, this should be the field set, right?
What are you trying to do here?
Once I'm focused here, I want to change the border color.
That's not what you want. That's has.
It's okay. So what is in?
So in is like the opposite of has. So say you had a button element.
So there'd be something inside the thing that gets focused.
Exact.
Okay.
Well, No, the button would get focused, but the thing inside of it
The
could
thing inside
react to the
uses the half.
fact that the
Yep.
button was focused.
Yep. So
So
what
say you
about
had a
something like
button
this?
with
An
a button with
icon.
an icon, and you want to
Yeah.
rotate the
Yes.
icon when the
Yes.
button is focused or something. You know?
Exactly. You
Yeah.
can't put anything inside of text inputs,
No,
can you?
inputs can't have children. No.
Right.
They
Right.
are
Right.
celibate. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So then maybe we'll just do a button. You have a button.
Yeah.
And it says click.
Yep. And you could just, God, that's hard to see.
Background white, PY8. Let's just get rid of all this.
Zoom in a bit over on there because the 720p stream, people are probably fucking killing themselves right now.
All right. Okay. Let's just do PX4, PY8. I don't know why this thing is so funny. Oh, did I have like a... Anyways. Let me just
It's
get
beautiful UI we're crafting here.
Really, just gorgeous. I don't know why this is so weird looking. There we go. That's something like a button.
Sure.
So if I had... Okay, let me see. This... I'm going to do like a span, and I'm going to have like a little fake chevron.
Do like our... Yeah, I don't even... What is a chevron?
I'm just going to do
code.
Arrow to the right with an emoji.
Okay. Sick.
Like that.
All right.
Inline flex, gap 2. And now, if this is in focus, then I'm going to rotate it by 90.
Sure.
And now I can tab. Cool. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So before you would have had to put group on the button and then do group focus on the span.
360.
So let's just say saves you from having to do the... oh, yeah. There you go.
I'm going to be here all day. Let's do like a little whirlwind.
Oh, that's quick.
Whirlwind. Tornado. Dizzy.
You know, dude, you got to use the Raycast emoji picker. Do you use Raycast?
I'm not going to use Raycast. I don't install things anymore. I'm in my late 30s.
Dude, I'll tell you right now, the best thing about the Raycast emoji... Listen. The best thing about the Raycast emoji picker is it has AI suggestions. So you type any word that you want and hit tab and it finds the closest emoji to that word, you know? So you don't have to worry about knowing the real name of the emoji.
I don't. Apple does that. Look, basketball. Boom.
But you were just typing whirlwind and you didn't get shit.
That's true. Whirlwind. You know the one I'm looking for that
I know the tornado thing, right?
Yeah, the tornado thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wait, this is very cool. People are going to be doing some crazy stuff with this, man. You know this is your responsibility. Yeah. You're making it too easy to just do gratuitous stuff.
To make like horrible shit. Yeah.
Oh, wait, we could do focus and can we do like a keyframe animation? All right, this is the point in the stream where we cut off. Translate. Y 10. And then, I wonder if I can do starting. Could I do starting within?
Only if it wasn't,
starting.
I don't know.
Focus,
maybe.
Translate.
Does that even make sense? Because that's only gonna... How do you load the page and focus the thing immediately?
No, I want to focus it and then have it bounce up and then down again.
You could do not... I don't know. Whatever. Not in focus, or just translate Y0. But you don't even have to do anything. It's already doing it.
I think it's very useful. I honestly think if you want one thing to show off the power of Tailwind 4
button,
it's 100% this. That's it right there. Look, even the outline. Look how good that is.
Yeah.
The outline ring sick. Follows the emoji.
Dude, they blend together. That is a feat of UI engineering. It's kind of like when two pieces of goop kind of touch each other and then spread apart. You know, it's
I think it's good. I think this is beautiful.
I think the only other thing that's cool that maybe I don't think we should talk about now, but
We're getting into
I'd be
delirium
curious to
part
have
of the
you
day.
have you test it anyways. Is the code mod tool that we built to upgrade from V3 to V4. As long as your project isn't doing anything stupid, it's just like one command and your whole project is updated. Like, out of curiosity, can you show me your Tailwind config file for build UI?
Yeah, we can do that. We could just.
I'm just curious if you've done anything that would like make it not work.
I try to keep this pretty slim.
Yeah, it won't work because of the typography customizations. It'll work, but it's not going to convert your JavaScript file to CSS config file. It'll keep your JavaScript config and just load it into the CSS file. But if you weren't doing the typography customization, we'd be able to convert this whole file to just a CSS file.
We can delete it and see if you want.
Well, also that add variables for colors thing, I think you'd have to.
Yeah, that's fine. We can delete all that for now. And just see.
You'd have to delete. Yeah, and I don't know if our code mod deletes the container queries plugin for you because you don't need that anymore either. But you should run it anyways because just seeing the stuff that it does on your templates is interesting.
Exactly. Let's do it.
So yeah, just make a branch on there. And then just run npx at Tailwind CSS /upgrade. And I think like it's this? On the latest.
Whoops.
No, not at all like that. Let me just make sure that you don't
CSS
have
upgrade.
Let me make sure it's on the right tag. Hold on. Yep. That's all you have to do.
This thing? /
Yeah, you don't even have to use @next. Yeah, sorry, /upgrade. And you can do @next or @latest, but I think it'll just be fine. Yep, that's the right version. What do you use for version control, like diff viewing? Do you just use a command line, or do you use like GitHub
this
app?
This guy right here, just the source control tab in.
Oh.
In VS Code.
Oh, you've got two.
Oh yeah, we have like the app. Yeah, we have like we have our.
Do you have
app.
two Tailwind configs?
I don't think so.
They both use the same Tailwind config?
Yes.
So, okay, try instead to, okay, so add an @config to, maybe just delete one of them, whatever, just for speed. But basically, if you follow the instructions there, in theory, it should work. But, let's see what we get. Oh, yeah, you just do it with -force. -force, yeah.
Ooh, whoa.
Okay. So let's see what it actually did. Can we see the diff?
It's still going. Installed Tailwind post CSS auto preview. Wow.
All right. Okay, so here, what did it change?
We can throw this on GitHub too. I can just throw this on GitHub.
Okay, so see that group has data hide grid lines equals true? That got simplified a little bit because now you can do group has data.
I could probably even do group not has data hide grid lines.
You might not even need to set it to true. You could just say group has data hide grid lines if it's just a Boolean attribute. But yeah, so that's one. What did this one do? Rounded SM. Oh yeah, because there's some breaking changes with some of that stuff, but so that's fixing that stuff for you. Has focus just becomes has focus.
Rounded SM.
Yeah, that's the rounded one. There's probably going to be a bunch of those.
Has focus.
What did that one do? Oh, the aspect 3.1. That doesn't have to be an arbitrary value anymore, so that gets kind of converted. Another rounded one. Another rounded one. Another rounded one. A lot of border radii in this project.
Background linear
gradient to BG linear. Some more border radius renames. More border radius stuff. Yeah, that's noisy. Okay, so this is an interesting change. So outline none became outline hidden in V4 because it actually does some clever accessibility stuff, and we wanted to make outline none actually set outline none, whereas in V3 it's set like outline 2 pixel solid transparent. So yeah, the outline hidden class does that instead now. So flex shrink, that actually has been deprecated for like 5 years. It's just shrink. Yeah, it's just some of the same sort of stuff.
Deprecation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah, and most
I
of
love
these
code
things,
mods.
yeah, dude, it's pretty impressive what the guys were able to make this thing do. So yeah, the important modifier, it technically works at the beginning or the end, but we switched it to be the end as kind of the recommended
I like
spot
that.
for it in v4. It looked too much like not,
Yeah.
you know, before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is anyone still watching this, I wonder? It says 4,000. There's 4,000 total views. I don't know how many people are actually hanging out though. If I had the YouTube one working, would have been better.
That's fine. It's been fun.
Next time.
Yeah. I was trying to see if there was anything else interesting. It seems mostly, yeah, cleanups and Z index doesn't need arbitrary. Well, that one is. Yep. Nice. Nice, man.
A lot of stuff doesn't need arbitrary values anymore. Like,
nice.
You know, by default, we only did like, I think a 12 column grid in V3. So if you had like call start 9, you know, but say you wanted to do like a 24 column grid for some reason, you would either have to use arbitrary values or you would have had to go and update your config. But in V4, anything like that, where it's just like, why do you have to go to your config to increase the number of columns? It doesn't feel like a design token, you know what I mean? It's not a shadow or a color or a font or something like that. It's just a fucking number. So in V4, like all that stuff is just automatic now. You can do fucking call start 732 and it'll just work. It doesn't matter.
I love it.
Same is true for the spacing scale stuff. I don't know if you ever ran into like trying to do like P22 and it didn't work. Yeah, it's just like shit, what exists? Okay, what comes after 24? Is it 28 or is it 32? Now just all whole numbers exist. So you can do P21, P22, P23, whatever. But IntelliSense will only suggest what we consider to be like a nice constrained scale. So P22
so over
isn't
here. I can do margin top 20. And then like, yeah, usually I would do something like this. Like I was, oh gosh, okay, what is it? Yeah, 20,
so those are all the values that.
But I can still do 22. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Not like 0.5. Oh, 0.5. Oh no.
you can even do 0.25.
Oh snap! What about 9.9?
No, just increments of 25%.
Oh, funny. Oh, this is great. I'm gonna abuse the shit out of this.
That's a dirty little secret.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
All right, what do you say we wrap it?
Yeah, man. Sounds good.
That was fun.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for all your work,
hanging out.
Tailwind's great.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm glad.
Still like it.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm glad it's out. For a while. And we'll see. I haven't opened GitHub since we tagged it. That's fucking terrifying. So we'll see how many bugs have reported. Some probably completely show-stopping bugs that make us totally question the entire way the whole thing was built, and it's like, oh crap, this can never work. Shit, I guess. But whatever. Anyways.
Hey, it's in beta.
Yeah. So I'll just start again. I don't know. Or open a coffee shop. I don't know. Whatever.
Tailwind V4 a bust, man. Great job, dude. Thanks for showing me that off. That was fun. I'm looking forward to the release.
Thanks.
Tell the team good job.
Have a good one.
All
Thanks, buddy. See ya.
Bye.